Hi, Sue Lawson here for WEVA News Minute with one of my favorites, we all know, Ted Schilowitz from RED Camera, leader of the rebellion. Ted, what's new with RED?
Lots new with RED all the time. It's a pretty dynamic company, right? Things are always changing and evolving. We're at NAB this year. Not with our big red tent this year. We're sort of doing a little more renegade style, which is so far working out really good. We just did a big presentation. We have our Scarlet and our Epic line in development, in active development, and coming along nicely. We have images from our 5K sensors and the 3K sensors. We are generating all the pieces and parts that will become the camera, and if all goes to plan, in just a few months, we'll have something to show to people.
Now, the Scarlet is probably the one that's going to appeal the most to the wedding and event videographer, right. I'm assuming.
Absolutely.
What is there about that that makes it so special and so adaptable for that industry?
So, from what I understand about the wedding industry, they're just starting to crawl over from the SD world into the HD world, which is good for them. You know, I mean, it's definitely time. The monitors are out there, the customers are out there, they're watching things on HD deliverables, and they want to shoot that market in HD. Now, where we come into play is HD is not nearly good enough for us. HD is kind of just a downstream deliverable for us. And what we're trying to educate the market on is how much resolution means to start with something higher than your deliverable. It's how film has worked forever, is a very, very high resolution image that you then can make multiple deliverables from. And with our Scarlet, which will appeal mostly to the wedding videography market because you're talking a sub $3,000 camera, it shoots significantly higher than HD at 3K resolution. And maybe even more important, or just equally as important as the higher resolution, is it shoots raw images. So it shoots effectively completely elastic, gradable, raw pictures using our red coat technology to squeeze them down into a little tiny flashcard like this. And that's a big deal from a standpoint of making something beautiful, especially if you have restrictive lighting or difficult shooting conditions. The more ability to capture as much information on the front end and then make the pretty pictures later, that's what RED is all about. So if you think about it like a digital film camera, you're on the right track. If you think about it like a video camera, you're not on the right track. There are plenty of good video cameras out there. What RED has done is made a really, really good alternative to shooting super high resolution film, except in a digital domain. And now we're taking this camera, the RED One. It's a sub $20,000 high-end professional camera, and we're taking all of what we've learned here for the market for the RED One and bringing it into a much more cost-effective, prosumer, high-end consumer-friendly device, and that's the Scarlet.
Now, the Scarlet is something that is still going to be configurable.
Without a doubt, yeah. So you can configure the Scarlet in any way that you want. In fact, there are multiple Scarlets within the Scarlet line depending on what you're going to do for a living with it. The 3K will probably fit mostly for the wedding videography types, but I can definitely see a lot of wedding videography people opting for the 5K because they're going to be able to pull super high resolution stills out from motion images without compromise. So, you know, they'll have effectively 14 and a half megapixel still from a 5K Scarlet image. At the same time, they're shooting motion, so they can use one camera for two jobs, which I know has been a lot of desire to do that in that industry.
Is there a particular challenge when it comes to the learning curve for either RED or Scarlet or Epic?
A challenge regarding the learning curve, I would say that the camera is extraordinarily flexible, and education is absolutely critical, just like with any new tool. So because it's not a video camera, the less you think about it that way, the more success you're going to have with it. If you train and educate yourself more like a cinematographer rather than a videographer, you're way ahead of the curve. If you know how to use a digital still camera effectively and know how to read a histogram and know how to set exposure and understand photography, you're way ahead of the curve with this camera. You can literally, if you've shot a digital SLR, you can take a Scarlet and with a very, very short learning curve, learn the basics of making pretty well-exposed, nice-looking, well-composed images with, in the future, a Scarlet, and of course today with the RED One.
One of the things that surprised me was you were talking about its low light capabilities, because that's very important to wedding and event videographers where they have no control over that. Do we have a certain amount of light that is absolutely mandatory, or?
So there is definitely no hard and fast rules with this camera. I see remarkable things that people have said, you simply can't shoot this with a RED, and not only can you shoot it, you can shoot it with remarkable clarity, more than any video camera I think I've ever seen, and still creating the cinema look.
Well, that's because it's not a video camera.
That's correct. Now, there are some technical understandings and some things you have to learn about the sensitivity of the camera, the color temperature sensitivity of the cameras. There's some mild technical understanding that you have to get to be able to hit the sweet spot of the RED One and then eventually the Scarlet and the Epic. But once you understand it, and you learn the different lensing options, and you learn how to make pretty pictures, there's almost no restriction on what you can do with these cameras.
Anything else people should know?
We're having a lot of fun watching this camera, in the first camera in the RED One, and then of course our new Scarlet and Epic, come to life and really become a significant force in the imaging industry. I think we are probably as surprised as anybody as to how quickly it's taken off. But when you distill it down to the bottom line, the images look so good and are so dynamic and so wonderful that I guess we shouldn't be surprised. When you can get pictures up on a screen that look like cinema and are in many cases indistinguishable from shooting 35 millimeter, then you're really onto something. And with the talent that's out there by the thousands now that have really learned the tool and found where its strengths are and make wonderful images, there seems to be no stopping it.
Terrific. Ted Schilowitz, Sue Lawson, WEVA News. Thanks again, and see you in Florida.
Sure. See you next time.
Okay.